Welcome to this week's snippet. This is where we get down and dirty on a specific topic. In today's topic, what is a gene? I'm Dr. Ben Lynch, and this is the Dirty Genes Podcast. What is a gene? Yeah, you can look that up easily on your phone. You can ask Siri what is a gene, and she'll tell you. But my goal today is to think about gene in a different way that's applicable and approachable and that you can resonate with. Because if you want to know the definition of a gene or understand what is a gene, you can't hear what the definitions are. I mean, here's the definition. It's a distinct sequence of nucleotides forming part of a chromosome, the order of which determines the order of monomers in a peptide or nucleic acid molecule which a cell or virus may synthesize. Gag me. That's terrible. Here's another one. A unit of heredity which is transferred from a parent to offspring and is held to determine some characteristic of the offspring. All right. Still not useful. I don't like that. So let's think of it in a way that's useful. Because if you hear the word gene all the time and you have to want to make some understanding of how your genes are functioning or what your genes are doing, or you learn about a specific gene like the MTHFR gene and you want to know how you can fix it, because you think you have a mutation in there, or you've done genetic testing and you do have a variant in your MTHFR gene, and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? How do I fix that? Hold on. Let's first understand what a gene is. My grandfather always said, Ben, you have to explain words in a way that people can understand, because they don't understand every word that you're talking about, you're going to lose them. And he's right. So the goal here today is for you to understand what a gene is. And if you want the technical down and dirty stuff, knock yourself out and read textbooks, talk to the genetic professors. But I'm going to use examples which allow you to take your understanding to a practical level. So a gene, from a practical perspective, it's your blueprint. It's a specific blueprint that does a specific thing. So in our body, your body, we have about 18 to 20,000 different genes. Yeah, that's a lot. So the researchers who've done the Human Genome Project, which was done quite some time ago now, was amazing. I mean, they've done some great things with that. But we still don't know exactly how many genes are in a human genome. So if you have 18 to 20,000 genes, that means you have 18 to 20,000 different blueprints, which means we have 18 to 20,000 different things that we can be building. And so start thinking of your genes as tools which help build different things, which help repair, which help remove things. So your genes have a lot of different jobs, and every gene can have one job or multiple jobs. And so, for example, if you go outside and it's sunny, you're on vacation, and you burn yourself, you burn your skin, then you get red, and then that skin dies and peels off. Well, that dead skin has triggered a gene to make more skin cells for you. So an environmental trigger came, the sun, burned your skin, damaged it, peeled it off, eliminated it, and now you have to repair that. And that is what your blueprints do. You have a blueprint to make more skin. And you need that blueprint available so when you do something that damages your skin, you can rebuild it. And so that's what your genes do for you. Now, these 18 to 20,000 different genes make up what's called your genome. And your genome is stored in a nucleus of your cell. And your nucleus is that thing, it's a small, tiny thing inside your cell, which houses your entire genome. And so, interestingly, I just learned this today, actually, your nucleus is found in basically every single cell in your body, except a few. And those few cells where the nucleus was originally was there to begin with. So for example, the areas in your body which do not have a nucleus, i.e. no genome, no genes, and no DNA, is your red blood cell, a mature one, and your mature hair, skin, and nails. And you need the genome, the nucleus, in your young red blood cell and your young hair, your young skin, and your young nail, because that is what's giving the information to make those things. If you don't have the genes there or your blueprints there to make the red blood cell, then you got no red blood cell. You got no hair, you got no skin, and you got no nails. But interestingly, that once the red blood cell is produced and it matures, it kicks out the nucleus. It's gone, it spits it out. Why would your body do that? Well, if your gene's job is to produce something and it's already produced, then there's no point to have the nucleus there anymore because it's already produced. If your red blood cell has been made and its red blood cell's job is to deliver oxygen throughout the body, then that red blood cell should probably be pretty darn small to be able to deliver oxygen throughout the entire body. And if your red blood cell has a nucleus in it, then it's not so small because it's got to house 18,000 different genes in there. So your red blood cell spits out the nucleus so your body can receive oxygen throughout your entire body, which is pretty amazing. I love how the body works. So genes have jobs to do. These jobs are defined, clearly defined with a blueprint, or say, you know your role really well in your job. So they're really, really set and defined. Okay. Now, genes, I want to give you a few different examples. So you have a gene which makes histamine. You have a gene which makes your melatonin. You have a gene which makes your serotonin. You have a gene which makes your dopamine. You have a gene which gets rid of all those different things. And there are blueprints for each one of those steps. There's a blueprint to make the dopamine. There's a blueprint to start breaking the dopamine down so you can pee it out because you can't have too much. And you are in control of all of these different things. You're in control of how your body will produce that dopamine. You're in control of how your body will be, eliminating that dopamine to some degree. Okay. So why would that be? Now, imagine your genes as a recipe. So if you're in your kitchen and you open your cabinet and you see 1,000 different recipes that have been passed down from generations in your family, plus you have all those recipe books. Every one of those recipes is a gene, every single one. And if you think of it that way, then every one of those genes has a specific thing to do. Maybe pumpkin bread, maybe pumpkin pie, maybe a certain type of French toast, maybe some type of hors d'oeuvre, maybe some type of drink. So very specific with a very specific set of ingredients, same as your genes. Now, if your recipes did what they wanted willy-nilly, and every single one of those recipes just started making things on their own, you would walk in your home one day after work and your kitchen would be filled with hors d'oeuvres and pies and cakes and meats and different mixed drinks. And the kitchen would be a total mess. And at first you think, wow, who made this amazing buffet? Yeah, that's pretty cool. But then you come back the next day and it's doubled in size. You have even more food that's prepared. You can't eat all that. So what happens? Well, you come back from work the next day, there's even more food that's prepared. Now there's omelets stacked to the ceiling. There's French toast all over the floor. There's, steak and eggs all over the place. And you're like, what the heck, man? Stop recipes. Stop doing this. Now your fridge is empty because your genes can only produce the things that they have resources for. So all the ingredients that you've had in your fridge, all in your cabinets, your drawers, they've been all used up. So plus all the cleanup that had to be done didn't get done because those genes were not triggered. They weren't told to clean up the mess. So just the recipes decided to turn on. So you got to have your genes functioning when you want them to function and you need to do it in a way it's timely and they have the resources in order to function and do their best jobs. Otherwise, you run out of resources and other things happen. I mean, imagine if that food just was sitting around in your kitchen, you'd have flies and worms and bugs and all sorts of things, maybe a pack of wolves in there eating all this stuff. So your genes do things when they're called upon to do it, and they do it that way to conserve resources and to do it and also in a controlled, orchestrated manner. So if you are stressed out and anxious and I go boo and I scare you, your genes quickly fire and your dopamine goes up, your norepinephrine goes up, and your epinephrine goes up, and your genes go into high alert and to make more. So you can get the hell out of there or be super aware so you can make a very rational, quick decision. So your genes get called upon on those situations. Now, some genes you have no control over, and they happen to do their jobs while you're developing inside your mom. So your skin color, your hair color, your eye color, all that's predetermined from your genetics. And once you are born, your skin is set in terms of its color, your hair is set, and your eye color is set, and that's done. You can't control that anymore. Now, those are the type of genes which we think all the other genes in our human body function that way. But I want to tell you that is not how things work. So the majority of your genes you are in control of. And so I want to switch the narrative on when you go to the doctor and say, what's your family history? Because as the doctor is asking you the question, what they're actually saying is, which things are genetic in your family which you've inherited that have increased your risk? So if you have mood disorders in your family, or addictive disorders in your family, or sleep disorders in your family, then, and you write all that stuff down, the doctor's going to look at that and say, oh, you have a high risk of having these different things. And then you look at that and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to get heart problems. I don't want to have mood issues for me. And now you feel devastated and disempowered. And I'm here to tell you, yes, you cannot change your skin color. Yes, you cannot change your hair color. But yes, you can change that narrative when you go to the doctor and say, put down your family history. It's important to know your family history. I get that. But stop thinking that, oh, I'm going to become an alcoholic someday, or I'm going to really be depressed someday, just like my mom or my dad or my sister or my brother. No. In fact, twins who are genetically identical have different problems in their health. They struggle from different things. Why? Because of epigenetics, which we'll get into in a different snippet. So for now, I want you to feel empowered, and I want you to know that the majority of your genes, the majority of your blueprints are called upon when you need them. So when you want to pull that recipe out for French toast because you feel like French toast, but no, you change your mind. You actually don't want a French toast because you're cutting down carbs. You put it back, and you want to have some eggs and bacon. And there's a certain type of eggs that you really want to cook. And so you pull out that recipe for grandma's omelet and you prepare it. So you've made that choice, just like you're going to make the choice to turn on which gene. Are you going to turn on the stressor genes? Are you going to turn on the histamine producing genes? Or are you going to produce the genes that encourage you to have a healthy, calm mind? Or are you going to produce genes which help get rid of the chemicals in your body to pull out the arsenic and the mercury? Yes, there's genes for that too, thankfully. So you're in control. And if you want to learn more specifically on what your genes are for you, like what are my own genes, you can do genetic testing through StrateGene. And StrateGene is available at seekinghealth.com. Or you can read the book Dirty Genes to learn more than what is just a gene, so you can learn how to control your genes, because that's what Dirty Genes does. So until next time on the Dirty Genes podcast, take care.